Another blow hit a small house and was so surrounded by fire that it engulfed the village. "Mom. Dad." The little girl screams, bursting into tears. The village, or most likely the town, is in flames. People run around and sometimes they can't choose whether to run as soon as possible or they can still pick up their valuables. Hurry up and run away. Carried around the town. That's the end of our city. Help. Save us. Suddenly, two bright red eyes lit up against the background of darkness. They were the eyes of a monster. A huge monster with a bunch of shards on his body. Its muzzle is bald and elongated in the form of a beak. There are pointed horns on the sides of the head. He shamelessly destroyed houses, tearing off their roofs or crushing them with his feet. I pray. People screamed as they ran away from the terrifying monster. Protect. The bird-headed monster was huge, and its nostrils were steaming from its breath. Suddenly, he began to open his mouth slightly, showing his blade-sharp teeth, and purple thin sparks of lightning began to appear around his mouth. He opened his mouth wider, and the lightning intensified, forming a purple ball, which the monster concentrated in order to hit the village again. Ominous breathing. Suddenly, from a purple ball of energy, 4 streams immediately flew in different directions, also shrouded in purple sparks. The streams immediately flew forward as if aiming at some specific point of this town. One stream hit the well-built 2-story house powerfully. Maybe some rich gentleman, which is not excluded. The guy who was in a hurry to escape suddenly stumbled and fell right there with his nose on the ground. All he could do was sit up a little and look back. There were tears and fear in his eyes. And the purple light from the flying energy projectile began to fall on his face. Suddenly, something seemed to prevent the energy from hitting the target, and the dense column of charge immediately split into several others, scattering in different directions due to the change of trajectory. One of these clots got into another house. Others also hit different buildings, punching them through. The boy was protected by a man in armor. He reflected the monster's magical volley with his shield, emitting a golden light that parted for some distance from the shield with a mesh in the form of honeycombs. It was a divine shield. It is golden in color, like a bright sun. In the middle of it is not a smiling mask on whose head there are some kind of crystals of the same golden color. Spirit of the earth, I cry to you, give me strength. It came from the side. Someone was holding a bow shrouded in green and golden light and was ready to pull the string. This someone pulled a thin energy thread and an arrow was formed wrapped in green light. Let the butterflies spin like a hurricane and turn into arrows. Someone spoke and lowered the arrow. She immediately became several streams of greenish-tinged energy, which immediately rushed forward like vines. Rain of arrows dancing swarm of butterflies. This stream concentrated at one point, reflecting another monster shot. Another moment and a loud bright explosion rang out in the air. The shooter was a girl. An elf with long hair gathered in a high ponytail stood with a bow at the ready. The other 2 powerful streams, shrouded in bright purple lightning, were still heading in their direction, also to one of the residential buildings. Suddenly they deftly twisted, as if they had their own self, and they noticed something most interesting. Suddenly, a bright fiery snake appeared in the sky with its mouth open and hissing discontentedly at something, showing its sharp long fangs. She caught the powerful streams released by the monster, thereby absorbing this attack. The fiery serpent was released by the magician, deftly wielding his wand on the peak of which a scarlet crystal was placed. The fire seemed to burn through someone else's matter, slowly eating away its structure. And at the same time, the magical snake turned him into a stone. A drop of energy hung in the air and did not move. A couple of quick and precise movements inflicted by an enemy drop of energy. It crumbled into many particles in the air, and they immediately began to fall to the ground like ordinary pebbles. Hundreds of cuts of a fallen petal was called a counter-attack inflicted by a curved blade in the handle, of which there is a purple stone. Pierce Lan. A boy with a peculiar tattoo on his forearm. Half of his face is hidden by a mask. And a burgundy scarf develops on the neck. He is the owner of 2 curved blades and is a member of the Walrus Tooth Guild. The boy is a fighter of the sea level. The class is a phantom assassin. Level 3. If a girl like me appears on the field, then no enemy will survive. An elf girl in a blue dress with red curls of hair fluttering in the wind spoke. Her name is Evelyn. She is also a member of the Walrus Tooth Guild. A fighter of the B rank. Support. Class Elf Archer. Level 33. Remember once and for all, Elf. Never underestimate the enemy. The fire control boy spoke. His name is Edmund. His eyes are covered by a mask. Chocolate-colored hair just above the shoulders. Next to him is his bug-eyed fire snake. He is also a member of the Walrus Tooth Guild. A fighter of the B rank. Class Pyromancer. His level is 45. Work harder, said the blonde man in the armor of a knight, in order to quickly go to the tavern to celebrate the victory with a drink. His name is Adrian. He is also a member of the Walrus Tooth Guild. A fighter of the C rank. The class is the Holy Shield Bearer. His level is 38. The mutant beast was unhappy that its attacks were repelled or destroyed. Veins immediately swelled on his head from dissatisfaction with the situation. He opened his mouth again and began to form a scarlet clot of energy, to which the scarlet flashes were directed, as if someone's souls. It was as if they had eyes and a screaming mouth. They were heading from the mutant's belt, which consisted of heads frozen in a silent scream. The flames of energy immediately left the firebrands through their open mouths, and bloody tears flowed from their eyes. The scream of the dead. A powerful energy beam consisting as if of many souls, headed towards the defenders of the town. An energy of bright blue color hurried to meet him, forming a dragon with a long, sinuous body. The dragon flew through the scarlet clot without much zeal, destroying it right there in front of everyone's eyes. The primordial dragon. The dragon is blue, like the color of a rainbow wrapped in circles of magic along its length. The monster looked at the dragon that was rising up and could not even offer anything in the form of a retaliatory attack. It looks like he's finally been cornered. He was looking at the sky and seemed to be thinking about something. A real dragon of large blue size was flying in the sky. On his hunchbacked back, between a pair of wings, there is a small silhouette relative to the dragon itself. The man stood on a huge lizard in full height and held a spear. "So," said the knight with snow-white tousled hair, "it was you who destroyed 3 cities and disturbed the peace of innocent people." He immediately pointed his blade in his direction and grinned. "If you dare to sow evil, now you will pay with your own life for what you have done." The guy with the golden eyes exclaimed. "The Walrus Tooth clan has come to punish you." His name is Galt Eugene. And as it should already be understood, he is also a member of the Walrus Tooth Guild. Fighter A rank. Class Dragon Knight. Level 62. Off you went. He exclaimed, and the guild fighters immediately rushed at the monster, holding their weapons ready. "Forward, our brave men." The residents of the town exclaimed in order to support those who are fighting for their lives. "Kill the creature that ruined the settlement. End the freak." Voices were heard here and there in the crowd. But their joy was short-lived and was replaced again by fear from which goosebumps ran through the body. "Like this?" they muttered. "What should I do now?" Others mumbled in the crowd. "Kaya." People screamed. The blades of one of the defenders were already without a master. One was broken and lying on the ground, the second was stuck with a blade in the ground. The shield of another defender was also lying on the earth's surface. Arrows were sticking out of the ground. The stone from the staff lay on the ground with chipped particles. And ahead on the horizon there was something of an incomprehensible body shape. Something that was on the horizon had bright yellow eyes with an almost split pupil. It was the appearance of the Demon King. "Death. Gut it. Trample." The demon spoke. "Pathetic. Mortals. Commoners," he said and laughed. "He has a bony head, horns on different sides." His ribs were visible. And in the stomach floated bright yellow balls with something. Also in the middle of his belly were 2 more of his eyes with almost forked pupils. In one hand, the demon held a severed dragon's paw, in the other a fighter that sat on a flying lizard. Under the feet of the demon, people were also lying unconscious here and there, or on the verge of death. "Please have mercy." A knight with snow-white hair, of the highest rank, muttered with swollen lips. "All the warriors have fallen." People screamed and began to run away in horror. "Even the Alliance can't handle demons?" People were shouting. "This is a high-level leader of the undead." Someone from the fleeing residents of the city exclaimed. The demon released a barely breathing knight and immediately let out a roar that almost cracked the ground from its powerful shock wave. "Monster, stop it right now." Suddenly it was heard from the side. The demon was surprised. What kind of creature this time decided to give him a rebuff and amuse him? And he immediately looked back at the sound. On the roof of one of the buildings, the demon saw a silhouette with a burning look of someone who is determined to win and nothing else. "Otherwise I'll have to kick your ass," said a mushroom with a red cap with yellow speckles sitting on a piglet. It was already the middle of the night. In a high-rise building, the lights were no longer on in any of the apartments. Many have been sleeping peacefully for a long time, and from some open windows you can catch someone snoring. But only in one of the apartments, under the barely audible ticking of a rectangular clock and with a painted Pikachu muzzle, a louder sound is heard, namely the sounds of fidgeting with a computer mouse. Huge, capits. I said, stammering with surprise. There's a lot of merch in my room. As a game, for movies, and for anime. I have figurines on my bookshelves. Whether it's a big-breasted demoness. All the biggest attacks have already arrived at the boss. I exclaimed, breaking the silence of the night. Damn, damn, damn. I swore right there. The priest put a boost buff on me. Or there's a figure of the Hulk on the shelf with books. I started fidgeting with the computer mouse on the table again. And diligently clamped certain combinations of buttons on the keyboard. Finally, in the game, the main villain caught fire and became enveloped in a black pillar of smoke, through which only a silhouette was discernible. My character, the knight, was covered with a shield and was still ready for any turn of fate. Great! I exclaimed joyfully, ceasing to repeat my machinations. A bright yellow icon with a short inscription "Victory" appeared on the screen. A clearing appeared on the screen with several steps, like a ladder. There were 1 or 2 heroes on each step. Chucky looks like a kid with black tears on his cheeks and repeats the same thing. The Invincible Guild. He certainly said it 6 times. Below is a little princess, a baby with a staff, dressed in a blue dress and a cape. Strong Bro is a breeze. His head is dressed in a red hat with white angel wings. He is wearing a white suit on the legs of which there are flashes of flame at the bottom. The leader of the top, he said, credit. Let's cheer him on. With the support of Captain Tupa Easierink. Chibik with wings on his hat spoke again. Cleaned up the boss of the new version of the lair. This character is a sprinter class. Our Captain Frog is the best fight. Chibik with tousled blue hair exclaimed. His nickname is I can't beat anyone, I'm roaring. I promise to come in time tomorrow to continue fighting. Just, please, stay with us further. He belongs to the Monster Tamer class. The little princess also inserted her word into this dialogue. Thank you for accepting such a small level as me into the team. I love the captain. Said a smiling, satisfied character. She belongs to the class Sorceress. Haha, Chibik grinned at the knight's armor under the nickname Frog Boy. Thank you so much for the compliments, comrades. Tomorrow I will try to guide you from the magician and from the warrior. The class of this Chibik is referred to as the Mad Warrior. Wow. It rained down immediately in response. You're one of the best wizards on the server. Hooray. Another exclaimed. Incredible kid, go ahead. A third voice spoke. Oh, I wish I could have such popularity in real life. I thought. I leaned on the back of my chair and sighed, looking at the ceiling. My room contained everything in itself. Many different things filled it, and now dim light from the monitor fell on these things. All the excitement of praise in online games instantly disappears with the return to reality. I muttered, sighing dejectedly again. My name is Watsu, which means frog, and it's exactly the same as one of my favorite comic book characters, so I decided to take it as a nickname. I am an unremarkable, cowardly and timid nerd who has neither normal height nor weight. I was always on the sidelines, unnoticed by anyone, while all the laurels and squeals of the girls were taken away by tall and stately guys, the pride of the school. I would really like to get someone else's attention and recognition in reality, but there is really nothing to stand out with, and there is not enough strength. In my fantasies, I am a pumped-up Superman, scattering monsters in different directions from which the threat came. And for the girls to line up with satisfied squeals in my direction. Super strong brother. What a man. My idol. Our hero. Ha, I would have grinned, becoming the epicenter of all these ladies' attention. Be patient, come one at a time, please. Do you have a girlfriend? They would ask questions, sticking to me from all sides. Let's date. Others would have suggested it. Maybe we can exchange contacts in Vichit? The third would have asked. Stunningly. I grinned, imagining the fulfillment of my dream again and breaking into a satisfied smile. I was distracted from my thoughts by the sound of a notification that came. Who writes so late at night? I opened the chat window. The first chat was with a little princess. Just opposite her icon was a notification circle. Oh, the same mage girl, I said, who recently joined the alliance. Why is he looking for me? I was puzzled and began to hover the cursor over the dialogue line anyway. After all, the co-op is over. I opened the dialogue and saw a message from her that sounded like this: don't have any free time on Saturday? I want to go on a date with you. Seriously? I was surprised so much by a direct message from an unfamiliar person. But still, I smiled contentedly, almost starting to imagine this meeting. I chuckled and immediately thought, in fantasies, this always looks very me. I started. How the image of an old beefy grandfather in a Panama hat and a red sundress suddenly popped up in my head. "Captain, you've finally arrived," the crazy old man exclaimed. "Please, meet with me and let's have kids, but if you refuse, I will have to break your legs and arms. Love." I immediately almost vomited from such a sick fantasy of imagining the worst. Fake the beautiful prince. The beginning was me, barely restraining the urge to vomit. I immediately started waving over my head, driving away this stormy fantasy of a full ass. It's time to stop thinking about everything in a negative way. Since I don't have any money, I said aloud, or beauty, then what's the point of sweating because of a scam by a girl from online? If I want to end the complexes of an introvert, I said, barely holding back the tears of a loser, I need to start taking the first steps to correction. And I, trembling, reached for the keyboard. "I don't mind." Finally, I wrote an answer and sent it. "Great. Then head to the park tomorrow." Suddenly, an answer appeared immediately in the dialog box. "Yeah." I typed it and sent it. But still unable to keep the accumulated joy in himself, he shouted loudly. My scream did not go unnoticed, and the light in one of the rooms immediately lit up in the apartment above. "Do you even know what time it is now?" the disgruntled neighbors exclaimed through the apartment above me. What kind of half-wit screams in the middle of the night? But I just shouted again. An absolute success. The next morning. My alarm clock let me know about the coming of the next day, with a loud cry of Pikachu. From which I immediately reached out to turn it off. And click on the button on top. Quickly packing up, I immediately set off on my way. The time of the year is a beautiful spring. When Sakura covers the earth's surface with her pink blanket of beautiful petals. How many people are in a hurry about their business and now, like me, they are waiting for the coveted green light of the traffic light in order to cross the road and continue their way on business. I was so worried that immediately, in order not to waste time, I licked a couple of fingers and he smoothed out the hairs that had escaped from the hairstyle a little. I also did not forget to run into a flower stall on the way and bought a small bouquet of daisies. After all, I'm going on a date and I should still amuse myself with a good fantasy and not a fake old man in a skirt. I straightened my red bow tie and smiled contentedly at the upcoming future. I wish from now on to start life with a clean slate. I said, still smiling contentedly, although my legs still betrayed my fear over the current situation. The color of the traffic light changed with a loud squeak to green. And the crowd immediately moved forward. I stood there not paying attention to them and still thinking about what awaits me in the upcoming future. How can I describe my condition? Are you losing your nerves? Well, the closer I get to my destination, the more my hamstrings are shaking and my heart is pounding. Nevertheless, I slowly moved along the pedestrian crossing, still staying in my thoughts and smiling stupidly. It is very reminiscent of the old bullying at school, when there was also a wild fear and I wanted to escape as soon as possible, but now I feel a certain delight from the upcoming event. I imagined a pretty brunette with long hair in a sun-colored dress. And how nice it would be for us with her. The sun is shining, the weather is warm outside, the flowers have bloomed, and against this background, there will be a walk. I hope everything happens just like in your dreams? I smiled stupidly again and took another step forward. In fact, the result is not so important because with my tightness, it is unlikely that something adequate will turn out. It's just that the teenager's imagination ran wild during puberty. Suddenly, time ran out and the red eye of the traffic light lit up with the silhouette of a man standing in place. But I kept going on, not noticing anything on my way. Even if nothing sticks together and my feelings are rejected, I am glad to feel the thrill of love. After the first attempt to improve life, I am sure that events will follow a different scenario. Although the traffic light changed color, but I was still walking, as the transition did not end and I did not reach the opposite side. People shouted after me to stop and waved their hands in order to attract my attention, but everything was in vain. There was a squeal from the sudden braking of one car. Then another one. I was walking straight under the wheels of a truck, not noticing or hearing anything. I was still in my fantasies and dreams that were about to come true. But it was my last spring. The last cherry blossoms. There was a thud and a screech of wheels from the braking of the truck. And a small bouquet flew to the cold, wheel-worn ground. I was thrown very far away from the pedestrian crossing, drawing a bloody trail on the asphalt. The arm and leg bent in an unnatural position and bled. They immediately rushed to help my dead, bloody body with the hope that everything was not lost yet and they could save me from the clutches of death. The man began to dial some number, most likely an ambulance, and shouted something excitedly into the phone. There were so many people gathered around. I've never been surrounded by so much in my life. The sounds in the world suddenly stopped. Time seems to have stopped. There is no such probable ending for me. I don't even regret anything, in principle, except for endless skating rinks at the computer. They occupied the whole day of leisure. Simple. Too tired. That's the end. Suddenly, the darkness was replaced by a bright light, and a blue window of the system appeared in front of me, like in computer games. 3 loading labels and 3 spinning rings. The text has changed. And now an inscription appeared on the blue screen. The download has been completed successfully. Welcome to. What? I was surprised. At the same time, some pair of eyes were still looking at me. Who else are you? What the hell is going on? I suppose, replied the voice of the creature in my head, you will gradually get used to it. I am your system. What do you mean? I was immediately taken aback. Didn't I get hit by a car? Yes, this pseudo-snail replied, but you were lucky enough to be reborn in our world. Welcome to. Ah, I exclaimed right there, without letting the system finish, I'm 100 poods old. Is this a dream or a nightmare? Let me finish my line. The system immediately snorted resentfully. Pull yourself together and wake up, asshole. I exclaimed, trying to wake myself up. I don't want to be here. The system made a look like I was starting to piss her off. What's with the pair of dangling eyes? I persisted. Hey, hush. The system raised its voice, trying to calm me down. Once you enter a new body, it is impossible to automatically adapt to the environment. Calm down, please. Just let me go home. I exclaimed and began to cry. Enough. Suddenly, the blue system window with this inscription appeared again in full screen. Keep your emotions in check, don't panic. I retorted to the system. Let me finish the explanation. The system shouted again with displeasure. As already mentioned, from now on, you are a part of this universe. Accept this fact. My past fate has shown, I thought, that I deserve to die. And now some kind of teleportation. I don't have any strength left, I won't mind giving up. As the text of the system cloud changed, which I began to hold in my hands. Just a reminder. As you complete quests. At the end, there will be an opportunity to return to the present and reincarnate again. At least bring me up to date about them. I couldn't stand that the system was going around and around. Heh, the system grinned, don't get too excited. Each task has already been distributed, there is no need to hurry. Let's better define your new shell. And then I noticed that the hands that had just been in front of my eyes suddenly disappeared. Just as suddenly as they appeared. Where did the hands go? Why are the limbs not visible? Take a look for yourself. The system spoke. There is a lake ahead, look at the reflection of yourself there. Okay. I tried to move forward and suddenly felt that I was not walking at all. Strange, why has walking changed to jumping? Suddenly, the unknown was finally replaced. There really was a lake in front of me, and a strange shadow began to fall on the blue surface. I was in a clearing, and I was surrounded by a lot of snails with colorful shells. What's strange, are they my height? They are giants are. What? I exclaimed as soon as I looked into the lake. I am. Turned into a mushroom? I exclaimed, greatly surprised at this turn of the damn events.